Hi there, and welcome to another typical T relaxing long play. Today, 2AI lay claim to the capital, and we march our men in the fight for freedom from the tyranny of artificial intelligence. So, without further ado, grab a drink, make yourself comfortable, and relax alongside me in Manor Lords. Let's disband our forces. We're no longer requiring your services. Go home to your families. Thank you for fighting valiantly to defend your homeland. I'm not sure you're going to get very far going that way, sir. It's going to take you to the edge of the cliff. Although perhaps you just want to gaze out upon the village which you helped to save, which is fair enough, to be honest. Righty-ho then, so we're getting pretty close to harvest, he says. 170 days away from harvest. Let's speed time up a little bit. Looks like we've got a house ready for upgrade down here. We'll get that upgrading. We've still got 9 available living space for the capital, so we don't need to worry about expanding buildings too quickly. Once these dwellings start to fill up here, we'll get some workers at the local storehouse and granary. Let's upgrade that well to a stone well to increase its reach. And we're very close now, hopefully, to not only stabilising our economy here, but also to upgrading the church, which is going to be the next thing we want to work on. Now it looks like production is working from the deep mine, so we'll leave them for a minute. Let's get 4 families working at the corpse pit right away to deal with the fertilisation problem we've got from the brigands we recently dealt with. And it looks like we've got a bit of a food problem down at Deep Heart. We're down to 1 month of food. Let's have a look. So we've got a growing patch of berries, and we have a forager working on that. And we have 1 family working at the fishing hut. Let's take away the families from the logging and woodcutters lodge and send them to work at the fisherman's hut instead, so that we can get as many people as possible fishing and bringing food back. We've the first of the fields here being ploughed, so that we can start producing some food. And we've got an ox just stood out in the middle of nowhere. Hopefully he's got somewhere to be hitched up. Pretty sure he has, but just to make sure, let's pop down an additional stable. Where to put that stable? Let's go down by the farm. We'll get 2 on this road here. Pitching posts initially, and then we'll upgrade those to stables. We're still working on upgrading these burgage plots to level 2. If we were to build our own manor down here in the valley to help with defense, one place potentially could be right on the border of the outskirts. Another option is here in the foot of the hill, but that doesn't seem like a very safe location. This river crossing would have been okay, but that's where we got our settlement located. So realistically it would probably be here in the centre of the valley, but nothing about this valley is particularly defendable or defensible. So I don't know if there's much point building one. It may be that we just end up going on this bit of the slope here, and that'll be our defence against this AI over here. That may be what we look to do. Again, I can't tell if this is a little larger than it was previously. With a storehouse built into the side of the hill there. But I've still yet to see where they've located their manor. And same for our other rivals as well. Perhaps one day they'll spring out of nowhere. Either that, or they've rather run into a production problem. We own half the map, so eventually it's going to be the case of building an army and marching to claim those regions. The capital is expanding nicely, making use of the space we have, and expanding down to Deep Heart is going to give us access, hopefully, to the minerals we need to supply our future war machine. Berry deposit is still growing, that's fine for the moment. We've still got a stone gatherer working. And we're up to 2 months of available food and fuel. Fuel's at 16 months anyway. But getting those additional workers in the fisherman's hut seems to have done the job. And we're cracking right on with sowing of the fields. 32 rye is certainly going to help with feeding us from next winter. And with that in mind, let's get a bakery popped down. Because I don't think we're going to want to assign a permanent workforce to making bread just yet, and we do want to make use of the wheat and the wheat flour and the rye flour here, which is what we're not doing up in the capital. And let's place this down right next to the farm there. It's a good location for that to go. So we're starting to bring in a little regional wealth now. And it's animal produce and fruits that we're lacking primarily, but we will also be lacking vegetables in the time to come. So we built our trading post. And I think probably the first thing to trade away is stone, because we've plenty of rubble stone lying around from where we've been collecting it. So let's go to the trading post and let's open up export on rubble stone. Just want to have 100 lying around. So we'll do that, and then just as soon as we have a spare worker, which is now, because we're done with the farms for the time being, let's get a worker in the trading post. Let's get a second worker at the forager's hut, and let's fill the stone gathering camp back up, as well as getting the logging camp and the woodcutter's lodge back operational. There we go. Over in the capital, seems to be keeping on top of the wild animals. That's fine. We need to get a worker at the forager's hut, probably 2, to make sure we're taking care of the available berries. And down here, let's order in a couple of goats and upgrade this property. We want the goats so that we can keep working towards a greater production of hides that we can turn into leather. We have a lot of pelts that we can sell. So let's go to the trading post. And let's go to pelts. Let's open up a trade route for exporting those. And we probably only want a surplus of 20. We don't really need a surplus at all, but we'll set it at 20. So we can export all those pelts that we're producing from our wild animals down here. A nice strong source of income, hopefully that will become. And what else have we got that we were thinking about opening a trade route for? Flour. Wheat flour. There's 280 to open. We are going to spend that money now and open it though, because it's not worth anything to us keeping it around, and it will spoil eventually, I believe, so it would be good to get that gone. Our orchards are starting to come together now, which is a sight to behold as we move into April. Fields are growing nicely. Hopefully we'll have a decent harvest from these this year. Now we're getting our way through the flour, so got no rye flour left, and we've turned it into 106 rye bread, so that's really producing quite a lot of our food. We've got spare pork, we've got lots of small game. Cabbage and carrots is good. We could probably do with some more beets. And obviously we have no fruit lying around at the moment, something we're working on. We've got a bit of milk though. So not making the best use of this space here as I might have hoped. Although it looks like perhaps we're still doing some planting. So maybe we'll get a few more cabbages over time. It may just be that this family is very busy. Warehouse and gravedigger. Oh yes, gravedigger. How have we got on with burying our fertilizer? Looks like we're done. Yep, so let's unassign the corpse pit workers and get them back into one of our mines here. And let's convert that into a deep mine. That gives us 3 for the time being. I know it's not the 5 we had before, It might be that 3 is plenty enough to produce enough salt for export in any case. But if we can expand it out and we find that does still work, because we had a little bit of a hiccup earlier where it wasn't really producing anything, then we'll wait and see, because it may be they are just a little bit too close to the edge. But we'll find out. You would have thought if you could place it down that it would work. But nothing's ever straightforward. So it looks like we might be starting to take advantage of some of our additional lumber storage down here. Another thing that we're going to need down here is an abundance of hitching posts to supply oxen for the forestry work. Let's build them so they're all coming off the same road in a nice row. It looks lovely. Can't quite squeeze another one in there. And let's pop a road out behind these as well. Like so. Yep, storage is full at that logging camp, but there's plenty of space to move them down. With these foresters working away, let's set up a working area for these foresters, which is going to be the max level, and let's line it up. Basically tuck the side into the corner here and then tuck it under the cliffs. So we'll set them all to be the same. A nice big working area, so hopefully they never run out of space to plant trees. As Deep Heart upgrades once again. That's 3, and then we'll get the 4th with this one here. Absolutely fan-dabby-dozy. So we're not going to get anyone working there just yet. See if we can get the right region over here, capital. We're not going to get anyone working down there just yet because we don't have masses of spare labour. So I don't want to go oversaturating. We are going to need, obviously, people to work this area. So one option would be to expand the living space we have up here. But I think a better option would be to add some living space down here, perhaps off this bottom road. I can see actually a nice sweep of houses here on the edge of this slope might look really pretty. What we might even do, tempted to have the houses facing out this way. So let's take a road across the brow of this hill and follow it round, and then eventually back up here to match into this road. Oh, that's nice, I like that. A nice sweeping road. And then off here we can put a storehouse and a granary, and hopefully somewhere down here as well. Oh, how about that? Exactly where we would want it. We can get a well, and then let's get a market in here. Fantastic, and we'll avoid expanding over here for the time being because we're not shy on additional dwelling space. We've got plenty over here. As we order in some more goats. And how are we doing on export? We're on Deep Heart again. We want to be in the capital. There we go. Records trade. So, made 260 from shields, 489 from bows, 3,300 from salt. We've spent 1,800 on iron. Obviously, we spent recently on some sheep. Made 600 though from pelts, so that's a good sale of those. They look to be pretty much all gone now. And we are still importing a fair amount of iron, but we will be, because we do need it. And we've still got plenty of pelts to sell actually, so we're working our way through those. We've got a few extra workers, At some point it might be worth going through and making sure they're working at residencies reasonably close to where they live. And again, we've had nothing produced by this deep mine here. Let's go ahead and take these workers and put them in this mine. I wonder if it was just a case of there was an efficiency issue from living at houses where they're too busy doing other things. Well, let's see how this mine goes. It might be that we need to build some small houses. Possibly here, that might be too steep, they might need to be down here. Whose sole purpose is to work the mines. In fact, I think that's probably a good idea regardless. So let's build another road down here. Where's our nearest market? We've got one up here. We're going to have one down here. May need another one here, and then you've also got this one here. So let's build a granary and a storehouse in here. And we'll pop a well here. And a marketplace here. And then we'll build some miners' houses. Now, if we're working off the principle of wanting at least 12 workers for the mines, that's 12 families we need. So we need accommodation for 12 families. We don't really want them working their extensions. We kind of just want them solely working the mines. So I'm actually going to go as far as to say we don't want any extension space in the back. And we'll make them basically as small as we can. And actually, if we're going to do that, I quite like the idea of having a couple rows of them along a central road like this. Just turn off snap to road. And let's not come all the way into that corner. It might be slightly close to that road. Let's do that. So that would be 3. Get those any tighter together. It's more like it. So that's 3. So that's 1, 2, 3 families. And then we'll build opposite them. We'll get 4 families in these dwellings here. Let's build a road either side of each of these. So that's 7 so far of the 12 we want. Come slightly further out from that corner. So 3 regular properties will actually give us more living space if we had 2 with extensions. Okay, that adds a bit of variety. So we need another, that's 4, 4. Just need 1 more actually. Can we squeeze 1 in any way in this space here? It's a shame, that would have been ideal. What about... we get rid of these? Before any of those resources arrive. Demolish those. If we fill up this space with extensions, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, okay. So that's what we want to do really. Okay, so those are going to be our miners' cottages, and they've got a quick trip up to work just up the road here, go and work at the mines. We're producing a fair amount from this deep mine. We were also not producing nearly as much from that one. That's productivity 26%. That's 62% productivity. Okay. We'll just keep an eye on it and see how things progress. Keep working our way along here and keep an eye on how we're doing for hides. Still no hides, still no leather. We're turning all of that into shoes pretty quickly. Still got no wool as well. Let's go and pay a visit to the sheep farm. Very low productivity, spending pretty much all their time at their extensions. We are up to 10 sheep, so they have been breeding at least. In fact, we probably need to start thinking about expanding the pasture before too long. If you're enjoying the video and have the time, it would warm my tea if you could pop me a like, drop a comment with feedback or subscribe. But regardless, thank you for joining me and know you're appreciated. Let's go and reassign. We don't want to reassign a saw pit worker. Who else do we have working up here? Woodcutter. Let's reassign you. In fact, let's get rid of our workers there first. And let's reassign you. Not you, is it you? You. To work at the sheep farm. Hopefully you'll be a bit more diligent in making yourself available. Okay. So we've got people moving in. People are generally pretty happy. Let's make sure we get these upgraded to stables. Never hurt to have an additional oxen. So we'll make sure we've got that on the way as well. Marketplace and storehouse are down there fine. And we've also got those constructed down there. We do have a burgish plot here we need to get planted up. So what did we say we were a little bit behind on? It was beets. So let's get some beets planted in there. And let's whip on down to Deep Heart Town. And everyone wants things to do, and look, we're bringing in a little bit of income already from our export of stone. We're making some headway into the fish here, and it's providing a nice food source for our residents. And we definitely need to think about expanding here, because at the moment we haven't got anywhere for people to move in and live. To start with, let's build some vegetable plots here. And then let's look to build some additional housing. So we've got a good river facility here, so we're not going to want to put housing there. So we've got that there. So this could be a good place. Some additional housing. And what I'm thinking for this additional housing is it would be good to have some properties set up for some orchards. So yeah, the largest plot has additional families to help work it, so let's go with that. There's going to be 3 nice large orchards there on those properties. And let's get some beets planted in our first one over there. Hopefully again we're making use of all of the space available to us here, and it's not too large a burgish plot to make good use of. That would be frustrating. Let's get some herbs planted there. We're also going to want to get some foresters popped down. maybe we'll do that a little further along, with the aim of making this our timber production area. Pop in a road to kind of denote where that is going to be. Pop a road around this field as well. That's nice. Upgrade those. Order an ox. And pop down some foresters' huts. Like so. And yeah, we'll set up... Ooh, not quite in the right place. We'll set up enough here to take care of our future needs. Just like so. And while we're at taking care of our future needs, let's get a couple of mines popped down. And then bring a road back across. Let's go via the river in such a way that we don't need to build any bridges. And connect that on to the bridge here. And make sure we connect each of these mines up to it. Okay, it'll be a minute before we bring in additional money. Takes time to trade rocks, it turns out. And pretty much everyone is indisposed, although we do have a family at least working on construction, giving us a place for people to move into. And we're going to be using these as orchards. So we'll get that extension built there just as soon as we can. But we'll keep the priority of building new homes higher. And we've got a few more people. Looks like we've filled up our initial row of houses here. And do these chaps have access to everything, or are they struggling a bit for access from this market? Let's take a look at the market. Actually looks okay for the most part. The couple on the end here are struggling for food. So let's assign the furthermost family here to this granary, which will upgrade instantly. And then we'll assign this family to this storehouse, which will also set to upgrade. And that will give them access to another market at this end. We're at 13 and 15 of wild animals, so considering getting an additional chap in the hunting camp, but I'll leave it for a second. Reduce the number of foragers by 1, because we're keeping well on top of the foragers hut there. We've got all our new dwellings here ready for when we're transitioning people into the mines from this location. It looks like we're still struggling a bit with production from the salt mines being very inconsistent. Maintenance pending. Yeah, we need to maintain it, yeah. So it affects labour time. 29 days durability left. We have plenty of tools. Let's pull back maintenance on both of them and see if that makes any impact on how much we can get out of them. It might just be that productivity is abysmal, but there are people in there, so you would expect them to at least be producing something. Okay. Let's not worry about it too much. I mean, that is one of our main sources of income. But we are also selling other goods in the form of pelts and some wheat flour as well. So hopefully we can keep on top of things by selling those. And we're also selling shields Now, if we get our wood economy online down here, we could also start selling some of the other wooden elements, such as the small shields and the gears, so that's an option. We're making our way through the food. We could also sell charcoal, that's another option. Now, we've made a fair bit of yarn now, which is good to see. So hopefully that means we're producing at least a little bit of wool from our sheep. In fact, probably see some being collected right now. And that means we need to get the weaver's shop operational. So where did we end up popping down the weaver's workshop? Or did indeed we even end up building it at all? Our forager's hut down here, our trading post, our church, storehouse, granary, another storehouse and granary. No, I think that might still be on our list of things we need to be building. Still nothing from the ye old salt mines. Ah, here we are. Let's get an additional worker there. And hopefully we may even have produced our first items of clothing. Well, not just yet, but soon to be on its way, because we have yarn, and with that yarn, hopefully soon, we'll be making clothes. And now we've got the additional granary and storehouse down here, we can upgrade these burgage plots here to the next level. With plenty of space for people to move in Minor Town, before we think about extending again, which will then be down to here, so we can get our wood sector operational. And here comes the harvest season. Let's make sure we've got plenty of workers in the farms. We'll take out of the foresters' huts to make sure that we do. And we may still have a worker in the church, which we don't need anymore. Yep. So we'll unassign them. Let's head on down to Deepart. Got a property ready for upgrading here, so we'll do so. And let's free up some labour from the stone gatherers camp and send them over to the field. And where else can we spare people from? How are we doing for fuel? We're at a year on fuel. Do some more timber coming in. I kind of want to leave everyone on those jobs for the time being. So we're pretty much out at the forager hut, so we'll free up an additional worker from there. That will free up 2, and we'll leave the workers in the fish for as long as we can. It may even be that we want to get 2 fishermen's huts so we can take advantage of all of the fish that we can while we have workers available. So we'll get another one of these popped down. Let's do that just here. Make a little square of the roads there. And we'll get to working on the harvest. Speed things along as the harvest gets going. They're coping pretty well with 2 fields here. Now we've got a full team working at the farm. So it might be worth, once we've harvested these 2 fields, activating another 3 fields so that we can increase our crop for next year. And we'll probably ought to start thinking about building a manor here as well, once we've got those pits operational. And obviously we'll want to start making dressed stone as soon as we possibly can. Over in the capital, we're up to 1,000, and we are ready to upgrade one of these burgage plots, so we'll go ahead and do that. It is quite tempting to open up trade and get some dressed stone in, but I think we've waited this long, we'd just as well wait until we're producing some dressed stone from down here before we send it up here. Now the next major thing, after we set up potentially some more wood production, is barley. There's not many places we can grow it down here except for possibly here. We almost certainly will grow it there actually. Maybe over there as well. But the only really fertile region is this one up here. So it may be worth at some point claiming this land for our own. But we're going to need to save up a bit of... we're probably there on influence actually, more or less. But we need to create a stronger army before we do that in any case. Although our adversary does look weaker than us at the moment. We'll see how we go. Is this place bigger than this one? Or just laid out differently? Possibly just laid out differently. Having said that, it definitely looks smaller than the other two. They haven't got any farming going either. Alright. We're going well up here. Again, something we'll want to do when we've got a larger population is get another farmhouse constructed so we can tend to all of the fields we have up here, because we don't stand a chance with just the one farmhouse as it stands. Every opportunity we get as well to make sure we're ordering in some oxen. And let's get a farmhouse constructed, or at least some farms constructed for future barley production. So primarily we're looking at this spot here, so let's put our first one filling up this space here along the road. We might have to do this in 2 sections. Tiny little field. How to do this? Let's build a road along the border, like so, and see if we can't use that as a marker. Doesn't look like it. That road's ever so slightly in the other region. Let's build it more on this side. And continue it down here as well. And see if that makes a difference. Start down here, come up to the top maybe. Doesn't seem to want to do it, does it? Ooh. What have we come from the other direction? That's better. Okay. I'm happy with that. So that's 1. That's 2. And then we'll go 3. 4, 5 and 6. Making use of what fertile land we have available to us. And looks like there's some land here as well we can use for flax, if not for barley. So obviously we don't want to impinge on this area here, but we can get down a handful of flax farms here of various shapes and sizes. try and make as best use of the space as we can. So that's 3. Let's get a 4th one in here. And hopefully we can squeeze a 5th and a 6th here. Even if they're not especially large. Just run a road up here so we can build as close to that corner as possible. Like that. Max fertility. There we go. And we'll need a couple of farmhouses to work it. Let's build a road on here. And we'll get a couple of farmhouses in here. Maybe not a couple. Maybe just one actually. And we'll pop the second just here. And then build a road that connects down here. And then kinks back out there. Okay, and that gives us some barley fields and flax fields potentially eventually as well. Potentially eventually. I like that. Potentially eventually. So potentially eventually we've got those set up ready. And currently we're finishing sowing in these fields here. How about down in D part? Are we done? We are. We could have done this sooner, but I'm going to go ahead and activate the next 3 fields, which we should be able to manage with the farmhouse we've got. So these are going to be rye and wheat again, because that's the fertility we have here. So we'll set all 3 of those up. Wheat. Nope. So we've got rye wheat, rye wheat, rye wheat. And that should get the farmers back out into the fields temporarily. They'll have to finish planting those in next year though. There's not much else to be done for that. Order another ox. We've got plenty of stable space as well available. We've still got some finances coming in down here too. Let's squeeze an additional worker into that fisherman's hut while we can. And we're not quite there to buy vegetables for these plots yet. We probably ought to start saving, getting our orchards set up here as well. Let's upgrade those and let's expand the living space on that one there. Until we've got our first, well, we've just had our first harvesting actually. I was going to say until we've had our first harvesting, we don't really want to start expanding our the number of people we have. But we can probably afford to do that now, because pretty soon we'll have someone working at the bakery. Once the farmhouse is closed up for the winter. So let's mark out where some more houses are going to go. Yeah, that looks good. Put those down there and continue this road. And we'll need to start thinking about additional granary and warehouse workers as well. Let's upgrade the granary. And they've done a decent job actually. They've got most of one of these fields sown before winter starts properly. And we've got our little forester's glade there ready to go as well. No one's moved into the miners' huts yet. And we're still not producing any salt. Much sad. Okay, look, we've got our farmhouses built down here. How have we done up on the main farm? Looks like we're done up here. So let's unassign them. Let's get some workers up at the windmill. There's no point getting one in the foresters' huts at this time of year. Let's look at what these people do. We've got workers down here already, that's fine. We don't need anyone working here now. Forager's hut. Now the winter's here. The large granary's gone up at deep as well. Oh look, we are making use of the space for planting vegetables, that's good. Glad that it's not being wasted. It's quite a deep bowl here, isn't it? I imagine it's quite prone to flooding there. Oh well. Well, despite the fact that the salt appears to be something that doesn't really appear, we are at least bringing in money through our other exploits. And we'll put these back up to a higher level of maintenance, since lowering it didn't seem to have any impact on what they were producing. How's our military standing? We probably have the ability to raise an additional unit of spear. So let's raise another banner. Spear. Yep, and it looks like population is the restraining factor now, so we're about 5 men short on each banner, so about 20 more men required to fill up our military. But we've got a fairly steady level of migration, so that should be possible. Now, putting down these fields ready for barley, potentially even from next year, is ready to get us ready for having taverns, so that we can properly lubricate our population. So, we'll need a production change for that, but the first thing we'll need to do is make sure we've got somewhere for people to drink. So, let's open up some space here by removing this road. And let's pop a tavern down. We'll pop this just here. And then we'll bring a road across like so. So that's one tavern. And then to make sure we've got everything at that tavern we need, like alcohol, we'll set up a malt house just here. So that we can produce what we need. How are we doing in terms of making our way through grain? Still got quite a lot of grain to work our way through, so we'll leave them to it for the time being. Plenty of shoes. It doesn't seem we've got many clothes as yet. How much? We've got 51 yarn. So let's... yeah, producing plenty enough of yarn from our weaver's workshop. Let's go to our tailor. And we need you set up to make woolen clothes. So we can start catering to people's clothing demand. And we're still behind on fruits, but we do have fruits available. That's telling me we might need to get additional workers at our granary here. Let's get a third family working at this granary. They're building their shop over here for some reason. Okay, a little bit odd. We'll let it by. So the food variety on the whole is pretty good. It's just garments we like, really. And uh-oh. That's quite the statement. So somebody is trying to claim our capital. And it's the blue faction. Who are the blue faction? How dare they? How do we view you? obviously we're going to have to fight them. What army do they have that they can field? Seems a bizarre thing to do, to push a claim on us. They've obviously sat on their high cliffs here, and they've thought, you know what looks delicious? Not this enormous settlement directly below us that we could claim. But look at that beautiful hilltop home. We want it for ourselves. Well, it's a good thing we've been working on our military. We're going to fight you. Herman. Herman is our enemy. Where is the battle to be fought? Enemy units spotted. And they're entering. They've hired mercenaries. Battle Brothers, no less. Right. Who do we have available to us in terms of mercenaries? The Wayward Sons and the Greencaps. And they arrive in Klein Knoll, which is all the way over here. Or both Klein Knoll. Well, let's start rallying our own forces initially. Let's not overreact. We should have the high ground when they come to attack us. So let's rally our men. 2 banners of spear and 2 banners of archers. How many units do they have? Looks like it might just be the 2 units. Light spear and light infantry. Those appear to be the only threat. And where is the battle to be fought? It looks like they're making their way towards the lower part of the settlement. We definitely want you, coming up this way. Visions of them all going around here and getting slaughtered. Well, they're marching. A moment. Is the battle to be here? How odd. So, right, okay. Looks like they're not going to come directly for us. The battle's going to be fought in no man's land, essentially. In Peter's place. Okay. And I guess that's where these chaps are marching. Okay. Well, that means we need to march our banners over in that direction. I think we will approach from this direction here. So let's assemble our troops and head for here. Sorry for sending you all the way up the hill, lads. I thought the battle would be here. I think I'm still going to avoid hiring mercenaries for the time being. And we'll see if we can deal with the enemy using our own men. We do outnumber them nearly 2 to 1. Hopefully that's good enough odds. Hopefully they don't pillage walking through our lands. We could engage them before they get to the ground, but I think we probably ought to go and fight the battle where the gauntlet has been thrown down. The ideal place to be would be on this slope here, but I don't think we're going to reach the battlefield much before they do. In fact, let's run our troops there. They're going to be exhausted by the time they get there, but at least that way they'll have some time to rest once they arrive. Right, well, we send our brave men off to war. But just because there is a war on doesn't mean there isn't a settlement to govern. get an additional family working at that hunter's camp. And we've got tavern being constructed over there. We've got housing here for people to move into, which is going to be for the salt mines, which for some reason one of them has produced a little bit of salt, 2 of them, in the last 30 days. I wonder if it's an issue of maintenance. Who knows? And I do know that our brave men are off to defend the honour of the capital. And we have the Battle Brothers moving through the forest. Hopefully we'll take care of them without too much issue. So let's get back round to capital. Looking okay for tools. Money's still good. We're producing spears now to replace those that we've just sent to war. And we've got spare warbows, so we've got some spare shields, so we're just rebuilding our reserves from when we raised those additional banners of men. How are we getting on down in Deep Heart? You can see here our troops passing through from the capital, running through the fields as the snow falls. Quite the scene. They run to protect the honour of their home. And although they're weary, they will not back down. An inspiring sight indeed. Okay. So the Battle Brothers are passing through the lower part of our settlement as we speak. So we are going to arrive hopefully a fair bit before them, which we're going to need to because we are pretty tired after all this running. Anyway, we were checking on Deep Heart. Got a little bit of coin set aside now. We don't need all these workers here during winter, so we'll free them up. And let's make sure that we've got workers in the logging camp. And we can fill up our stone gatherers camp again as well. Get the rest of that surface deposit mined up. And we can build our extensions ready for when we have the money to purchase the seeds for our orchards. And if we've finished making them, which we should have done. We haven't. They're still a long way away. We'll need to start getting some resources from those mines at some stage as well. It may be that we actually clear out the stone surface camp here as well. And we get to quarrying there sooner rather than later. Because we want to start sending that to Deep Heart so we can look towards the construction of our manor up there. What do we have sat around in terms of grain? Got a little bit of grain, so let's get the windmill active for the first time. And we'll also employ someone at the oven so that we can start to produce from our crop. Let's pop in some animal pens. While we have the spare labour, so that we can start to get some hides together to make leather. And we need to keep moving. We'll start walking now. The battle is to be there. I'd like to be... In fact, let's run again. I'd like to be here. And then we've got the Battle Brothers fighting up towards us. And that's probably the best terrain we can hope for. Ideally, as I said earlier, we'd be here, but I don't think we've got quite enough time to make it to those positions. As it is, we're going to be tired come the fighting, and that's never a good thing. Not sure where they are at the moment. They might be in that forest there. Nevertheless, our men shall charge into position. I did think to engage them from here, but they may just sit in the fighting area. There they are. Okay, we're going to have to start walking now because we can't afford to be that tired. In fact, if we can, I'd like to be here. I'm hoping they don't have any forces hidden behind in their village proper. I mean, that would be a solution, wouldn't it? They try to claim our region, the capital, and we just march into theirs and burn it to the ground. That would be a solution, surely. Well, hopefully we can get into position quickly enough that we can afford some resting. Taking any kind of significant losses here would severely hamper our ability to expand in the future and really obviously hurt morale. And then we have the battle beginning. I assume we're both in the zone. Do we stop where we are? I think we're going to have to. This is where the battle will be fought. Defensive shield wall set up here. And we'll set up our archers behind. And we'll set them to fire at will. At least the terrain is flat, so they'll have no innate advantage over us, but if we march up that hill, we're definitely going to be more tired than them from the conflict. At least this way we have a chance to rest. And we have 2 double ranks of shield and spear, supported by 2 banner of archers. And it's the archers, hopefully, that are going to make all the difference. So we're resting up nicely. The archers are certainly better rested. Spearmen are going to take a second. But a second is all they're going to have. Let's move forward slightly with our archers. We want to be opening fire as soon as the enemy are in range. Let's take a quick look over our other settlements, make sure things are going as we planned. Upgrades are going on well down there. We don't need all these workers in the fishermen's huts at the moment, so they can be freed up for construction. And over in the capital, we've had people moving in here. This one, what do we want to have more of? Probably pears by the looks of things. So we'll buy some pears to be planted up down there. Still no one moving into these properties, still got space elsewhere. Have we worked our way through all of our grain here locally? Nope, still more to work our way through, so we'll leave that to it. Alright. Here come the first unit. For some reason they've attacked piecemeal, so we're going to come straight in and outflank here. We're going to set our archers to attack this spear. And we're going to aggressively push into this unit here and take them out. Hopefully we can take them out before the enemy spear arrives. And hopefully we can delay the enemy spear's arrival with fire from our archers. The green caps here are sandwiched, they're being slaughtered and they're broken. Let's quickly reform the line. Two double file ranks again. And we'll maintain fire on the spear. And we'll move out to the flanks. And once on the flanks, we'll open up with volleys of arrows into their sides. And hopefully we'll be able to get away with minimal casualties. Pull this unit of spear back. And hopefully this will be a swift conclusion to the battle. Victory for the capital. Peace declared. Well, it looks like we probably lost 5 or 6 men. But the cost of the green caps was considerably larger. For some reason they attacked piecemeal, they sent in their sword before their spear could arrive, presumably because they were slower. We were able to annihilate the first unit before the spear arrived. And our small army has worked well. So, we'll set them to head home at a steady pace. But it's a long way. Thank you, men, once again for your service, and you needn't be in shield wall formation anymore. You can walk. Okay. Back to governance. Once again, our salt mines are woefully inconsistent. The only thing they're consistently mining, in fact, is salt directly from me. And that's not the kind of salt we can easily export. It's not impossible, but it's not easy. Right, this mining pit was finished a long time ago. Let's get rid of that. And the road leading to it. Which I don't think broke any other roads, so that's fine. We've people starting to move in to the miners' properties. So what we're going to do now, since we're not making anything from these mines anyway, is we're going to unassign everybody. And we're only going to assign people as they move in to our miners' cottages. So at least if we do have people working at the mines and they're not making a particularly large amount of goods for us, we can at least make sure that they're doing it efficiently. We're not wasting time from other people that could be working closer to their homes doing other professions. Let's wait for this burgage prompt to be upgraded. There we go. And then let's assign this family to work in the mines. No, it's not a punishment, it's just life. Let's upgrade these 3 dwellings here. Quite the busy little area down here now. And I think with those workers out the mines, this is going to be the year that we get down here and open up production with barley. And I'm going to push the boat out and we're going to open production on all 6 fields at the same time. So we're going to do barley and we can't do double barley because the fertility will change quite a lot. I don't even know if there's any point growing anything else. This fertility is so low. Let's just start by doing just barley. And see if 2 years of fallow is any help at all. Because it might be that's better than trying to grow wheat in between, which may just end up being a massive waste of labour. If we're doing that, it's half as many fields to plant. We could probably get away with opening up flax production as well, especially if we do the same thing here and we only grow flax. Because even the rye fertility here is low. Not so low in that one, 42%, but Again, I think we'll just start with that. That's a good starting point. A whole bunch of animals here. Do we do any hunting in the winter? No, it doesn't look like it. So that would be why. Go, avenue's looking pretty good. We're definitely turning any hides we get into leather. Showing deep part statistics again. Let's cycle through to the capital. Doing pretty well for roof tiles. Have we turned all of the clay we gathered into roof tiles? If we can find it. Yeah, we have, so we don't need anyone working at the clay furnace. Next world's hardest job. Find the clay furnace. Where did we build the clay furnace? I thought we put it down here. Storehouse, granary, smithy, bloomery. Forager hut. Malt house weavers. So we got the sheep farm there. So we had the clay mine over here. As we get a new family settling. Must be up here somewhere. Thing is, at winter, all the buildings look the same. Okay, well, I can't find it. So the next time I spot the clay furnace, there it is. We're going to unassign that family there. Talking of assigning, let's assign them to the mine and upgrade their burgage plot so they can pay us beautiful rent. And that family has actually made something, so maybe that's something that's going to work for us after all. Where are our troops? How close are they to getting home? They've just stopped. Okay. We'll remind them that they can walk home. And let's double check how we're doing for clothes. We've got clothes popping in and out. So we actually do have some clothes production. And we've still got the space here for people to move into, so that's fine. Down in D part, buildings require maintenance. We don't have any iron here yet, do we? Okay, so let's go to the trading post. No, we don't want the trading post. This is where we're going to produce iron. Alright, let's get a couple of families assigned to the pit. It is a long walk from the mining pit. So it may be a minute until we're actually producing any iron. But in anticipation and in hope, we're going to go ahead and pop down the bloomery. And we're also going to pop down smithy. We'll do that right next to the bloomery here. They can pass iron over the over the back. We'll pop a road round, just in case though. Just in case they don't want to. So hopefully that will start taking care of our iron problem. And let's start upgrading these properties as people start moving in. Still only at 4 months for food. Did we turn all of our flour into bread? We did. 20 wheat bread and 18 rye bread, and that's probably what's keeping us going. But come summer, we'll be able to start, or spring, we'll be able to start fishing and foraging, and that'll supplement our food produce nicely. And we should be bringing in quite a lot more this year. We've got 2 additional fields planted up. As the bloomery comes together. And we've got a little bit of money, so let's get some goats as a starter. Another goat row. And we might do something a little bit different at the back here, but we're not going to worry about that too much at the moment. Let's get some... I wasn't going to say vegetables, but I clicked it anyway. So I guess we'll do the same in both of them. Some tiny little vegetable plots to take care of there. And we've got beets planted there. We've still got to plant these up, but we've just used up all our money, so we won't be doing that for the moment. Same goes for these here. And these men can go back to their homes and go and help their families with their various tasks that need doing. We are producing a bit of salt from there at least. As we see all our brave soldiers go back to their homes. Still not using all of our pasture space, but I think it might be a good idea to add some more. Produced 45 wool in the last year, that's quite good actually. Let's get down an additional sheep pen. There is potentially more space here now, but we may one day end up using that again. I wonder if there's a nice steep cliff area we could use. Yeah, like here. How do we follow this round? The back of these dwellings here. What do we come across like this? Looks like it doesn't shape to the cliff face, so let's bring a road down here because we can shape that. And is that going to allow us to put a sheep pen in here? It looks like it will. Why can't we build that? Something getting in the way there, isn't there? I think it's something to do with these buildings. So let's again with the road come down like that. And is that enough? Yep. Perfect. So we've got some more pasture space in there. That's quite a nice little field actually. I like the shape of that. A little bit more interesting than your average square. A little bit more interesting than even your atypical square. Oxen. Right. With the thaw coming, let's start putting our foresters' huts into use down here. And yeah, we'll activate one up here as well. And let's go on down here and open up that farmhouse for duty, so we can start some planting down here. We'll even get 4 families in that farmhouse there as well. And of course we'll need to make sure we've got a forester for this time of year. Looks like we've got another family moved in to Salttown, so we'll assign them and upgrade their home. And living space is becoming a little bit shy, so we're going to add those additional dwelling plots up at the orchards to give us some additional expansion space before we need to build another ream of housing. Down at Deep Heart, have we gathered any iron? 9. You know what? It's that 9 is more than 0. So let's get a worker in the bloomery and in the smithy so that we can start producing tools. Once we've got over 10 iron. And as our population grows down here, we're going to start thinking about forming a militia down here also. Burgage plots. Let's spend our money wisely and buy some carrots. What wise expenditure looks like. Carrots, didn't you know? We need some foragers down here. Don't think we need anyone else working at the fields. But let's make sure we've got the fisherman's huts manned. And I'm going to take a worker from the stone gathering camp, which needs maintenance anyway, so we might even take 2. And we're going to assign them to start working at the forester's huts. And let's set a work area for these, which is basically going to be the end of the valley. And hopefully they don't spend all their time planting outside of the region. But I guess if they do, eventually they'll run out of space and they'll start working on the area we actually want them to forest. So we have 475, we've grown our own purse a little bit. So we could potentially start to think about settling one of the next regions. So we have a clay and animal deposit over here. And over here it's berries and fish. So both solid regions. I think this one up here particularly could be quite pretty because you've got the tiered flat plateaus. And with the berries and the fish, there's plenty of, once we get our first annual royal tax coming, quite pretty. And it might continue on quite nicely, being overlooked by the manor. So this region and that one are more inclined to settle here. But I don't think we have a need to really yet. I think maybe in a few years' time, we'll start a settlement here, just for the sake of it. To give us another strong retinue if nothing else, but for the time being I think I'm quite happy focusing on our 2 starter regions here. They're within easy defensible reach of each other, and that's quite important. As we've seen, the AI has already decided to attack us once, and that was the first of 3 AI, so I'm presuming we'll get attacks from the other 2 at some point. And when that happens, I don't want to have towns spread right across the realm. We'll also probably do another bandit infestation as well. And as we've known from our previous playthroughs, sometimes a bandit wandering in at the wrong time can be the end of a region. Okay, how are we doing with planting down at the barley fields? We're done. And with our field of flax as well. So I'm inclined then to open up another flax field as well for this year. It's tempting as well to set up barley followed by wheat or something, but I think we'll hold off for the time being as people head back down to the fields to work. Have we produced anything? Not really. Mining town's going to be a bit of a waste of time. This area looks to be being quite nicely forested, like we've got the little tops of houses in here. We should change these over from apiaries though. So we're going to demolish the extension and we're going to put in animal pens. The reason we're doing that is they are in an area with lots of trees and forest, and that's going to benefit animal pens, not apiaries. So we'll build some apiaries elsewhere to make up for it. And we'll get a combination of pigs and goats for over here. This would be a good place to have some apiaries. So we've got our specialists here. We could put apiaries in there. Alternatively, we could convert some down here. We put housing down in this area. But we're okay for housing for the second. We're still doing okay for tools here. We've got the roof tiles. We're really just waiting on beer production, which hopefully will be happening before too long, because we've got some fields planted up. So we'll get rid of all of these workers because they're not needed for the moment. And with all these free workers, we haven't got much timber. So let's go down here and make sure we're continuing to buy in oxen. How much space do we have for oxen? Got space for another nearly 15. So let's go to the livestock trading post. And I want to have 25 oxen at any given time. And I want to start employing men down at these logging camps. And we'll increase the number of workers down at the foresters' huts here as well. And that way we can start to work on chopping down these forests, the lumber supply, and also replanting and hopefully filling up these stables. And that's going to give us the resources we need to start thinking about building the first stage of our manor. And at some point with our money that we're bringing in, we're going to want to get a retinue reassembled as well. But for the moment, I'm more pushed on improving approval, rather than getting jiggy with taxation. They extended here. Don't think they had those houses previously, did they? Let's take a mental snapshot. They've not done anything up here, I'm sure of that. Thing is, they'll only grow so big if they don't make use of farming, especially those up here. I'm not sure the AI is quite at the point yet of being able to do farming, based on what I'm seeing. So our little valley settlement is growing nicely, with plenty in the ground with the farms. Still a third of the year away from any sort of harvest. And we've got a couple of workers working on planting up new forests. Still quite a lot requiring maintenance, but hopefully we're well on our way to producing iron, which we are, iron slabs. And then we can start turning that into tools. In fact, I'm going to remove the limit for iron slabs, so we can get straight on with making what we need. And export on the small stone isn't really getting us anywhere. So that's mainly because we're not gathering anything anymore because of the tool problem. Let's get rid of this camp here. And we're going to go straight in with constructing our stone gathering camps proper. Let's see how many of these we can fit onto this node. Come on. Get one in here as well. So, and hopefully yeah. Need to fit a road through here so we can actually get to this stone mining camp here. We're so close to fitting that. I'm not quite getting it though. Let's... I should have paused this because we have supplies in the way now. Let's get rid of those roads. That one there, and hopefully we can still fit one here. And then we'll connect them all up. And then back down to the road. And just as soon as those have been collected, we'll see if we can't get another one placed down there as well. Just need to get those last couple of planks out of the way. That's looking promising for a very, very large scale stone production area. And it's close enough to our starting settlement as well, that we're not going to have any problems with labour to start with. Still 100 days to the harvest, so we've plenty of time to work on this. Hopefully someone gets these sooner rather than later. There we go. Oh, doesn't. Please. No deposit in range. Oof. Oof, it's going to be close. Yes. Just enough space that it's possible. And so that means we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 nodes. And we'll connect these roads back to the main settlement. To give multiple ways of getting here. And then why not set up our own little... Move some of these other roads. Set up our own little area here for production we're going to use all this stone for. So that's stonemason scraps. We'll start with 5 of those, and then leave space behind to add more. And then let's set up some stables here as well. Nicely along that V shape. And that's quite the industrial area being prepared. Get the opportunity to order another ox. Get another fisherman. 2 important things. And it's going to be a little while, I think, before we're on top of the tool situation, but we are at least producing iron, and probably as well producing tools. They're just being used as soon as they're made, yeah. Okay. And here we go. The next pretender to the throne has placed a claim on the capital. Don't they know, haven't they heard? The capital has defended itself before and will defend itself again. We have much the same military as we did before. Actually, it looks like more or less identical. There's a few extra people in it. We've recovered our losses and some. There's still not 4 full banners at this juncture though. We don't have quite enough money to hire a new retinue. But we could potentially hire some mercenaries to do the job for us this time. That being said, I would like to hold on to our money as much as we can, because we're not taxing down in Deep Heart yet, and we're not making loads of money in the capital. Deep Heart's probably where our money's going to come from, with weapons exports and stone exports, but those things aren't really online yet. We're only just getting started with our stone economy. So, we're going to fight this, and let's rally our troops, and we'll choose this plateau down here to do it. And once again we will sally out forth to war. And this time, bother. The battle is going to take place inside of Deep Heart. And we don't know where the enemy are going to be coming from. We've already hired troops. So I'm going to arrange our men on this bank here, on the slope. So we'll arrange our spears in front and our archers behind. And that should give us a significant terrain advantage against whomever we're facing. As for Deep Heart itself, it's probably wise we get ahead of the curve and we build a corpse pit. Not particularly sightly things. Do you think it would be rather intimidating if we built one next to where the battle's going to be fought? It'd be efficient. Let's do it over here for the time being. And build a road down there. That's quite a high priority. Hopefully not for our own men. Oh, there they are. Who have they hired this time? A single band of brigands. How embarrassing. I don't even think it's really necessary we send all of our forces. Probably half the force would be more than enough to take care of this threat. But rather be safe than sorry. They may not have spotted all of their forces, there may be more than one unit. And you never know, this might be the time that they decide to send reinforcements. I'm assuming the AI has just recruited a single unit of brigands, but I'm not willing to bet the lives of our citizens on it. Still got plenty of time before the harvest. And hopefully we're starting to import some more oxen. It might even be worth us going over to the livestock trader and having them import more oxen by giving them additional men to help. How are we doing for sheep? Hopefully these brigands don't stop over in our land. The last units didn't, so hopefully these won't either. How are we doing for production? 49 in the last year. I guess it's about that every year. So we've still not got masses of clothes, so I imagine we've turned all of our yarn into clothes though. Pretty much. And we're turning wool into yarn as soon as we have it as well. We're doing pretty well for iron. Got 59 tools. 7 dwelling spaces. Quite happy with that. And our men have taken up their positions. We'll create shield walls in 2 lines. And we'll position our archers in 2 lines behind. Set to fire at will. With the spears in front. And that would be a formidable formation if we were facing an actual army. But we're not facing an actual army. All our 2 lines of spears and 2 lines of archers are going to have to deal with is 1 unit of brigands. But nevertheless, I suppose it's good practice for our archers. Not every day they get to riddle bandits full of arrows as they set to defend their town. Quite the majestic view there. And the battle begins. So presumably then, the enemy has just crossed over. And there they are, coming down the hill. We'll make short shrift of them. It does look like it is just one unit. It's possible that they won't even get as far as our shield wall before our archers break them. But we'll have to wait and see. I'm quite looking forward to watching them be slaughtered. I wonder when they'll come into range. Let's reposition our spears so that they're protecting our archers. And we'll position our other shields here on the flank. And already the brigands are looking pretty full of arrows. They're marching up a steep hill. Wood tipped with steel is eating into their ranks. They've lost a man already. The arrows flying over the heads of our men. And the first couple of exhausted brigands reaching the shield wall and being killed pretty much as soon as they arrive. And there we go. The only thing that cost us was time and arrows. And men can head home. And we'll assign a few families to bury the brigands who died trying to march up that hill. Once again, getting to see just how effective the use of hills and terrain are, especially on a map like this one. Okay. Still not taking care of the maintenance. And we've got a couple of iron slabs. Have we made any tools at all? No. And have we just produced those 2 iron? 3 iron now, but we've yet to turn it into anything useful. So hopefully the smithy does something before too long. They're transporting, so that would suggest that they're bringing iron to the smithy. That might be him there actually. Arriving with the iron. And he's crafting, so we are going to be starting to take care of that. Unfortunately, it is just a really long way to where the iron comes out the ground, although we actually have 33 iron ore. It's actually the iron mine that now needs maintenance as well. We'll wait for our men to arrive home before we disband. And they're back in plenty of time for the harvest. Wasn't even close. Get some pigs in there. And let's speed things along a little. First unit has returned. We'll disband them. Second unit looks to be home. Disband them. And our spears are straggling home now. This would be another defensible position, wouldn't it? You can head home. And the same for you. It's a shame we can't almost merge these 2 regions. So there's lots of construction going on here, but the first quarry has been constructed. I don't think we'll start any mining though until we reach winter. We have a little money, but not enough to plant our cabbages just yet. What we might do actually, let's get a quarry worker, and then at least we can start bringing in some stone that we can sell. We'll reduce that to 1 worker because that seems ample. We're done with the windmill worker. We'll send them to work down at the fisherman's hut and then help with construction otherwise. 64 days to the harvest. How are we doing militarily? Getting pretty close to filling up our 4 initial banner. New mercenary companies available. And at this point, we're basically waiting for the harvest to begin. Once the harvest begins, we can start looking toward the production of beer. We're not going to produce an enormous amount of barley domestically, but hopefully it's going to be enough to help sate the appetites and the thirst of the local residents. And then we can perhaps buy in the shortfall in malt by opening up our timber production. What are you doing all the way over there? It looks like they really do use the full extent of the circle that they're offered in terms of planting. So it might be beneficial to reduce the area that they can plant within. But I'm not going to worry about that too much for the time being. So long as trees are being planted. And there's a lot for them to work their way through here to start with anyway. And that's the second of the AI to push an attack. Presumably, this town down here, who are you ruled by? Peter will attack at some point. We've already had an attack from Renlith and Herman. I look forward to the next opportunity to crush our competitors' puny attempts to attack us. Their towns will one day become our own jurisdiction. We'll leave workers in that forestry so long as the deposit is growing. How are we doing for housing? We do need more housing down here. And that might be a good time actually to start thinking about pushing housing over toward the mining district. So maybe let's set up a little settlement, a self-contained settlement over here. So what do we like for fertility? Right here is where we're going to want our barley farm, so we definitely don't want to be building our housing there. Rye as well is pretty good down here to the right. So one option is down here. But I think probably the best bet, although it does go over some of our rye fertility, is this area here. So let's actually mark off where that rye fertility is with a road there. Sorry, where our barley fertility is. And we also don't really want to be going over too much green, but I think we're just going to need to build. I suppose we could build along the river here. It's not quite as close to the iron mine as I might like. Even this isn't. Tell you what. Let's build a settlement here. And let's do this one a little bit differently. Let's pause the game and let's take a corpse bit. And we'll place down a number of these here. So we want to be almost parallel to the main road here. And we'll go for 4 of these. Like so. And then let's add some flanks to those. And take some roads. Like so. To create us an outline. And then let's delete these. Or demolish rather. And then with these deleted, pause the game for a second as well. Let's put a road, go diagonally. No, let's put a road right across the centre. Or more or less the centre. And what water do we have available? So we're going to put water on the end over here. We'll make that a large well. And then we'll pop a granary and a storehouse down here. Actually, let's move that storehouse right over to the edge. Make slightly better use of the space, and we'll do the same for the granary as well while we're at it. Like so. And then let's pop in a small tavern. And we'll also put in our own church as well. And I'm actually going to swap those over because we've got slightly more space to the side. No, we're right, the side of the storehouse was fine. We'll put this at the end actually. Yeah, let's do that. Let's put the church there. But let's face it inwards. Rather thinking this up on the fly. Let's put that there. And then we'll put the antithesis of the church, I suppose you could say, on the other side, in the form of the tavern. And then we'll connect roads across for those two. And then let's get a bunch of shops. And we'll pop those in this space here. At least we would, if it was letting us. Actually, yeah, that was good. Put those in that space there. And then we've got space to add some extra bits and bobs in here if necessary. We might even add a couple of hitching posts in. But let's fit those in here, in the corners. And then we can add some housing. We'll put the priority of these buildings up there because they need to be built first, along with the well. And let's connect this back up the main road. We'll take the road as far as there, and then we'll branch off that back to the main road, like so. And we'll also come off here, and then we'll follow the river with this road. And we'll put short little sections of road in there to keep the curve going, and connect that back up to the road there. And then for housing, we'll put 3 here. Well, we could do 2 with... yeah, let's do 2. And we'll do the same on this side. How large did we make that? So, perfect. It was exactly a corpse pit. So, we'll turn off road snapping here. We'll line this up first, and then we'll pop that down there. And that's going to be our indicator for how high we should take these dwellings. I meant to press the minus button there. Let's demolish those and try that again. Come across there, come across the top. Like so. Get rid of the corpse bit. Turn off road snapping. Line this up here. Pop it down. Turn on road snapping. Take your burgage block. Come across here. And repeat that one last time over here. And typically I tend to have fairly unorganised and naturally grown dwellings, as you've probably seen and noticed. And that's, you know, how things would ordinarily, naturally grow out, as we have here in where I live. Things develop over time. But I quite like also having a bit more organisation, and this reminds me of Boatlandia, for those who remember, which is a much larger settlement, which quite by accident ended up boat-shaped. And this is a little homage to that, maybe. It's more like a raft, or a little dinghy, but, you know, we could call it New Boatlandia. Now, hopefully as well, we can then fill out blanks here. Let's take off Snap to Road, and see if we can mimic the shape here by coming flat. Don't quite like how that looks. What if we come square? Yeah. Let's go more or less square. Because if we do that, we can also then put in a couple of doubles like we have done on the corners. And we'll just come up to the same point, turn off road snapping. And come across here. Oh dear. There should be space there for two. Need to stretch it slightly at the back to make it happen. If we come from this direction here. Turn off road snapping. Okay, slightly more squashed here, but does still work. Doesn't have to be perfect. And we'll do the same over here. Bring that road down. Come across here. Turn off road snapping. Build two there, and then we'll add two here. And similar problem with this one. So they're going to be slightly on the skew. But that's going to give us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 16, 32 families. Which is quite large for the amount of space that's taking up. So we'll let that construction get underway. The little dwelling town we have here. And we're going to call this little village, aside from the main part of Deep Heart, New Boatlandia. And let's speed things along, and we'll let that grow over time. And we're low on fuel, so it's probably about time that we constructed a charcoal kiln. And let's pop that down here. I've heard that breathing in dust from... No, actually, let's not put it there. As much fun as it would be to put charcoal kilns down where our residents are. So they breathe in lots and lots of healthy fumes. It probably makes more sense to put it down where our future logging operations are going to be. So we'll pop that down here. We'll put 2 down. And we'll put priority for that very high. So that we can get that constructed and churning out charcoal in no time at all. Still a little ways away from harvest. But I'm very excited to get Boatlandia constructed. And we're pulling out rubble stone and rough stone. We've still plenty of rubble stone actually to export, and we're starting to get some tools together now as well for maintenance. So all is going well in D part. Over in the capital, looks like we're starting to get some of those oxen arrive, which is good. We await our first harvest of barley. We have our new timber production area over here, which has recently started operations. And it's got its own oxen down here as well, which is a good start. And that's going to start building up the timber we need to mark out the initial circumference of our manor up here. And actually, what population are we up to here? So we're up to 211 in the capital, and down in D part, 84. So we are still, a third of the size, but I think we're going to quite quickly grow down here, especially once we open up a new Boatlandia, as construction materials begin to arrive for the fledgling town. Let's speed things up a little bit. We probably ought to start getting some clay in at some point as well, but I'm not going to worry about that too much for the time being. And that's probably, we might even move metal production, etc. over to the new Boatlandia area. It's going to be much closer to the iron mine. And this is somewhere certainly that we'll want these workers coming from New Boatlandia, so they're not spending nearly as much time travelling. Up to 31 iron ore. Pretty soon we're going to have to put a pause on construction. It'll be time for the harvest. With just 16 days left. As lightning thunders down, hopefully this terrible weather means we'll have a decent patch of weather when it comes to harvesting, so we don't have anything rotting in the fields. And we're nearly full on our banners. Ready for when Peter decides it's his turn to have a poke at the barrel. The capital being the barrel. It's the jewel that everyone wants. But it's a jewel that is more than capable of defending itself. It's the charcoal kiln construction finished. We'll definitely get someone working there straight away because we need fuel for the winter months. The harvest is upon us. So we'll start in D part and we'll pull workers away from unnecessary tasks, which for the minute is the foraging hut. And that's about it actually. So we're going to need to pull workers away from the fisherman huts so we can man the fields. Just the way it is. We'll be producing enough food from farmhouse this year that we can cope with having a little less fish being produced now. Over in the capital, let's fill up one of our farms down here, and then let's take a bunch of workers out of the foresters' huts we have going in what I'm going to call the New Forest, and let's assign them to work at the upper farm. Now, have we produced any salt? Basically no. We will nevertheless, I'm not even going to bother assigning any more families to it. I pressed the wrong button there. Hopefully though, that will be something that's fixed in time and we'll be able to start sending the people from the mining huts to go and actually do some mining. For the time being, we'll make use of them elsewhere to help gather in the harvest and otherwise help out elsewhere. Now this year, we've already got a weaver's workshop, so we can turn the flax into linen. But we are going to need to get an employee working at the malt house, so we can start turning that barley into malt. And we're also then going to need to consider where we're going to put a brewery extension on one of our properties. So I think we might as well convert one of these down here. So we'll convert that one on the end into a brewery. That's nice and close to the malt house and on the side of the large village where we're producing our barley. And that should put us well on the way towards getting our first level 3 properties, because we're going to have another source of material to help make clothing, and we're going to have the malt we need to start thinking about barley production. That's all we have time for today, friends. I hope that you found this as relaxing to watch as I found it to make. I would love to hear any suggestions you have for these or other videos. Pop a comment below and I'll read them and respond. And if you enjoyed the video, then why not like and subscribe? If you're still in the mood to chill, join me in another video. As always, know you're appreciated. Until next time, cheerio.